A privilege to serve in this capacity as chairman during such a pivotal moment for our nation and issues surrounding its energy needs and land management policies. I want to extend a warm welcome to Governor Doug Burgum and to his wife, Catherine. Thank you for being here, and thank you both for joining us today. And you'll have a chance in a moment to introduce anyone else in the audience who's here with you today that you'd like to. Governor Burgum, your nomination to lead the Department of the Interior comes at an urgent time as Americans under the policies of the Biden administration are suffering from skyrocketing energy prices that drive up the cost of everything from gas to groceries, from housing to health care, to restrictive land use policies that tend to stifle growth generally. The challenges facing American families are mounting, and they're staggering. This past November, voters decided to send a clear message. They demanded bold leaders willing to break from the status quo and take a fresh approach, one less likely to result in this awful pattern of inflation in which we found ourselves over the last 4 years. Your nomination has garnered remarkable support from tribes, from organizations, businesses, and people of all stripes and backgrounds. Particularly those who are most uniquely and directly affected by the U.S. Department of the Interior and its policies. The dozens of letters of support nationwide further underscore your reputation as a leader, one who's committed to change, committed to fostering relationships, and they reflect a pretty widespread confidence in your vision and in your readiness to lead this organization. The Department of the Interior, of course, plays a central role in addressing many of these challenges, particularly in states like Utah, my state, where federal land management shapes nearly every aspect of our day-to-day life because, well, the federal government owns 2/3 of the land, about 67% in my state. And there are other members of this committee who represent other public land states who understand the relationship between the department you've been called to lead and their day-to-day lives. Nearly 1/5 of the land in the United States is under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Department of the Interior. In my state, it's much higher than that, of course. And this influences everything from energy development to public land access, tribal relations, and wildlife management. In Utah, where the federal government controls more than 2/3 of the land, the impact of these policies are profound. The decisions made in Washington ripple through our economy and our communities in ways that are unmistakable and not always positive. Unfortunately, these policies have taken a troubling turn during the Biden administration, expanding national monuments like Bears Ears and Grand Staircase without meaningful input from local communities has jeopardized access and harmed the locals who call these places home. The public lands rule and restrictive management plans have placed unnecessary and often insurmountable barriers in the way of responsible resource development and land access. On his first day in office, President Biden issued a moratorium on oil and gas leasing, severely damaging our energy security and locking away resources we needed to power our homes and our economy. Now, over time, these decisions have revealed a pattern of disregard for the multiple use mandate that federal land management is supposed to uphold and to which it's been subject for nearly 50 years. The consequences of these policies extend, of course, far beyond Utah. As wildfires devastate California, it's clear that mismanagement of public lands has consequences that often reach far beyond rural areas. Federal agencies must reevaluate their approach to wildfire prevention, prioritizing forest management strategies that mitigate the risk of catastrophic blazes. Utah and other western states know too well the devastation that these fires cause, and addressing this crisis must be a very key priority for the department. Reversing course will, of course, require bold leadership and a willingness to embrace innovative solutions. The Department of the Interior must take a hard look at the leasing restrictions of the last few years, which have steered development toward low-potential areas while blocking access to high-value resources like critical minerals. These are the building blocks of our economy and our national defense, and we can't afford to let bureaucratic delays jeopardize our future. Housing shortages across the West present another daunting challenge that we have to face. By working with state and local governments to identify underutilized federal lands, the department could finally meaningfully alleviate the housing crisis in places like Utah, where the demand for affordable homes far exceeds supply. Bills like My Houses Act would provide a long-term strategy and a strong framework for such partnerships, showing that federal land policy can drive solutions rather than creating obstacles. The Colorado River, a lifeline for millions across the West, faces growing threats. Effective communication and support from the Department of the Interior as states negotiate the river's future will be critical to safeguarding that vital resource. Our national parks also require renewed attention. These iconic landscapes are a source of pride and major economic driver for the gateway communities surrounding them. According to some polls, they're one of the few features of the federal government that people actually like, so we've got to take care of them. The department must work to balance accessibility with conservation, ensuring that visitors can enjoy these treasures without compromising the future. This will require stronger partnerships with local stakeholders to address infrastructure needs and manage visitor impacts. On the regulatory front, the misuse of the Endangered Species Act has caused significant harm by halting development projects and undermining state authority. While the ESA is an essential tool for protecting imperiled species, it must be applied judiciously and in coordination with local governments to avoid unnecessary conflict. Governor Burgum, your track record uniquely positions you, in particular, to lead the Department of the Interior during this challenging time. Your vision and your leadership will be instrumental to restoring balance to federal policies and ensuring that public lands are managed with accountability and with care. Utah stands ready to work with you in tackling these challenges and charting a new course that reflects the principles of federalism and respect for local communities. Utah stands ready to work with you in tackling these challenges and charting a new course, and I invite you to visit Utah as soon as you have the chance to see firsthand the opportunities and the challenges we face. The hearing that we're having today marks the beginning of an essential conversation about the future of the Department of the Interior, and I look forward to hearing your perspective and exploring ways that we can work together to address these pressing issues. Thanks again for your willingness to serve, and really look forward to our discussions today. I'm going to turn the time over now to our ranking member, Senator Martin Heinrich from New Mexico.